Grand Prix. There's a new course in Gastown this year, an exciting technical course, particularly as you approach the east end and steady up for the finish. And now two-time winner Alex STIEDA takes us around the course.
Get in, flipped in real quick. Get up to race speed. Stay wide for this first corner. Okay, no brakes, just go through it. Keep pedaling, there we go. Slide uphill for the second corner, wide sweeper. Pedal right through it. Gear up a bit. Let's do the headwind stretch, so gotta make sure you stay on the wheel or out to tack. Get someone else off your wheel. Good place to attack. Do the headwind. Someone else is going slower. Third corner, brake slightly, it's tight. Fourth corner, so watch it off camber on the bricks. Lots of pedestrians. All right. Fifth corner, fifth and sixth are real tight together, so one big sweeping corner all the way around. All right, one short right-hander to the finish. We're gearing up now. Sprint starting now. Too late to sprint after this last corner here. These bricks are a bit slippery, stay wide. Right on the line. On the saddle, take it right to the finish. There we are.
And let's have a look at some of the top riders. He's only 27, but Bruce Spicer has been a member of the national team for 9 years, 8 times national champion. Carl Sundquist is from Indianapolis. He's a double national champion of the United States, might make the Olympic team. And last year's winner, he won 4 medals in the '86 Commonwealth Games in Edinburgh. Victoria's LUCA SEGATO, only 18, has already been shortlisted for the Olympics by winning an Olympic trial. From Montjoly, Quebec, Gervais Riot is a 5-year veteran of Canada's national team, 2 times Canada's road champion. And Brian Walton, what he wants to do most is win this race at home. Most promising rider to emerge in Canada in decades. The only professional of these top 7 is the veteran Alex STIEDA. He's already won it twice. He's a 3-year pro. 69 riders in all. Fortunately, the rain that had been falling has eased up for the start, and the streets in Gastown do dry very, very quickly. And away they go, vying for position, vying for race speed, as STIEDA had told us they must do at the start of this course. Here's the steam clock corner. Things are still very interesting because the cobblestones do stay a little bit wetter than the pavement. They attain speeds of in excess of 30 miles an hour on this course. 50 laps. And on the backstretch of the first one, it is Walton in front. Spicer, though, has split up the 7-11 riders and is in second place. Coming into that new turn now, this right-hander really took its toll earlier in races when it was raining. Spicer and Walton. STIEDA is still in there, as it's that 7-11 team really against Spicer in front. We're coming up to the completion of the first lap. There'll be 50 laps in this Coors Gastown Grand Prix. Now they're going to Gassy Jacks. There is Walton looking around to see where Spicer is. And Spicer is right on his shoulder. Heading for the finish now of the first lap in the Gastown Grand Prix, and it's Spicer just in front of Walton. Now they're heading again for Steam Clock Corner. Spicer in front, then Walton. You'll notice those 3 7-Eleven shirts, and the rest of the field is spreading out very rapidly behind them. Spicer opening it up just a little bit. We're midway through the second lap now. And they are really moving. This course has dried out nicely. It really had been raining terribly just 3/4 of an hour before the race got underway. And now here they have to drop from the outside to the inside. A very, very technical turn for the riders. Still, as you can see, a little bit of moisture on this course, and that is very tricky, that right-hander that they have to execute there. Now from overhead, we have a good look, and it's still Spicer who won the first lap in front from Brian Walton. Just those two in the picture, and then the other 7-Eleven riders, STIEDA and McKinley. Now we're heading for the finish again. It's Spicer and Walton. And Spicer, looking around, comes through in front of Brian Walton. It's just those two, and it's still those two. And remember, Spicer really is racing alone against this very, very experienced and strong 7-Eleven team. And there, Walton has taken over from Spicer. Walton wants to win this one desperately. He's never won it. And he's fighting a bit of a cold, too. Now watch this turn. They have to come from the outside. Walton positioning Spicer. He wants to know where he is. Now you see they swoop from the outside tight down to the inside. And the field is right on their heels. That shows exactly the spacing and shows you it's still a little bit wet on the cobblestone. Oh, we had some spectacular falls there with the less experienced riders earlier in the day. Spicer still attacking Walton. He's picked his target on this 7-Eleven team right now, and there is Spicer in the blue. Walton, of course, in the 7-Eleven colors. And Walton comes through to win this third lap. Setting up a bicycle rider to cycle is very technical. One of the very best at it is Barry Lyson, former Olympic coach and race coordinator here in Gastown.
In a lot of cases, pain is associated with riding the bicycle. This would mean that the cycle is not adjusted to the rider. We are going to make 4 basic adjustments. The first one is the seat height. Number 2 is the forward and backwards position of the saddle, the handlebar height and correct tilt. So now, Cheryl, we're going to go right into it now, and we will start with making sure that the saddle is level. It is very important that we have the saddle level, thus distributing your weight equally. So now climb on the bicycle, and we will check the seat height. Fasten your toe clips up and pedal at your normal pedal rate with your hands in your race position. It is very important that we have the correct seat height, and we're going to raise it as it is far more efficient. So just climb off the saddle. You will find that you will have far more leg extension, thus you will be more efficient, especially when you're climbing hills. Okay then, so go back into your normal riding position, sit squarely on the saddle.
That feels great.
Okay, so now we're going to check the position of the saddle forward and backwards. So I want you to put the crank parallel with the ground, with your foot in its natural riding position. We're going to use a plumb bob, and drop it down. And I can see that we have to go back with the saddle, as the string line should be in the center of the pedal axle. So just go forward on your saddle.
I have had knee pain in the past.
Yes, that is often associated with the saddle being too low, incorrect position. So now we're going to get far more power by putting the saddle back. And later on, we're going to do some one-legged pedaling just to prove to you that the saddle is in the correct position. So, okay then, let's go back into your riding position. Sit squarely on the saddle. And I want you to stop parallel with the ground again. Bring this over. The ball of the foot should be over the axle of the pedal. And now we're going to adjust the tilt on the handlebars. By the looks of it, you've got quite a lot of pressure on the inside of the hand. Yeah. So, okay, then just sit up, and we're going to change the tilt of the handlebars. So, okay, then you go into your riding position and you tilt the handlebars up slightly till it feels very comfortable. Distribute the weight over the palm of the hand. Okay, I can see for more comfort, we can raise the handlebars. So, okay, then go back into your riding position. Think of having a flat back and square shoulders and a slight bend in the arm, and this will be very comfortable and efficient. So now we're going to check the correct position of the saddle forward and backwards by pedaling with one leg. So take the right foot out and pedal through. Where do you feel the power starting in the pedal circle? 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, or 1 o'clock?
It's back at 11 o'clock.
Okay, so continue pedaling through the circle and pull the foot through the bottom of the crank. Where do you feel it's starting to peter out?
It's at the back.
About 7 o'clock? Yes, that shows that your saddle is in the right position when you're pedaling through with one leg. So the thing is to think circles, and it's very easy to do with just one leg, so put both legs in the pedals now, and each leg is independent, but the power is working to drive you down the road. So think circles when you're riding.
It has to feel great, and it has to be right when you're going to go 50 laps on this technical Gastown course. Spicer, who we last saw winning the 3rd lap, is still in front. This is lap 16, but he has moved out now and is watching very closely on the backstretch. Those other 7-11 riders, Walton and STIEDA, are paying more attention to each other than they are to Spicer. And there goes Walton, and also there goes Scott McKinley of the 7-11 team, a 20-year-old from Boulder, Colorado. Now, we sometimes wonder how athletes from sea level can go up to altitude like Boulder. What is it like for a fella from Boulder, a mile high in the Colorado Rockies, to come down to sea level? Well, it certainly has not bothered Scott McKinley of the 7-11 team. He's right in there with his teammates STIEDA and Walton and Spicer, and they've taken over from Spicer right now. We're coming up, and this will be the end of lap number 16. It's been Spicer and Walton and STIEDA and McKinley, and who's it going to be now at the finish? It is McKinley, the 20-year-old of 7-11, showing that it's teamwork. That's what it's all about as we look at the leaderboard in the Coors 16th annual Gastown Grand Prix. There are races within races in this Gastown Grand Prix, and the fastest time around this course, that is in a lap's time, wins the award of the Silver Bullet, and that is also extra money. And the fastest sprinter of these experienced riders is definitely the veteran, the 2-time winner, Alex STIEDA. And here he's in a race in this Silver Bullet lap with Alex Spicer. And it is STIEDA in front of Spicer. STIEDA in the 7-11 colors, in the blue. It's Spicer. This is for extra money. STIEDA holding off Spicer, who has really been throwing a one-man challenge against this 7-11 team. Look at the power in that STIEDA. He says that this is not a course on which you have to change gears very much. Look how closely he's watching Spicer. He's going for the fastest time, and it looks as though he's going to have it. It is Alex STIEDA, who'd like to make it 3 victories in the Gastown Grand Prix, holding off Spicer, heading for the finish line. He's going to have the fastest time. Yes, indeed. 1:27.20. That's almost 33 miles an hour. Let's get a little closer, find out a little bit more about this great man, Alex STIEDA.
There isn't a lot of pressure on me to win the Gastown race. We race over 100 races a year, including the Tour de France, Tour of Italy, lots of races in Europe, as well as a lot of domestic races in North America. Every race is important, and if I can win a race in my hometown, that's great too. But The important thing is to help the team win a race, whether it's myself or Brian Walton, Scott McKinley, or Norm Elvis. Even if we don't win a race, if we help someone else win a race, that's just as important. I have other interests other than bicycle racing in itself because I think it's sort of evolved. I've been racing my bike for 10 years now, and if I just did that for 10 years, I think I'd go crazy. So I just feel that it's good for me to do other things. I also do a lot of skiing and winter camping in the winter, and that's really good for my mind frame and helps me get psyched for the coming season. Within the next 5 years, I think I've got a few general ideas. I don't think I'll be racing my bike after 5 years. I'm going to be looking into working within the cycling industry. I think I've made a lot of contacts during my career, and I think there's a lot of room for more aggressive marketing within the sport. The sport's growing dramatically in the States and Canada, and I think there's room for me in that industry. I've got a few more years left in me. How many, I'm not sure, but I'm going to keep plugging away for a few more.
Plugging away, and right now in first place in lap 22, it is Alex STIEDA, but he's going to let somebody else do a little bit of the work right now. So he lets Walton, then Spicer, and then McKinley, his teammate, go on by, and he tucks right in behind. Okay, he says. A little bit of nourishment there for Alex STIEDA on the backstretch. The backstretch here, for those who live in Vancouver, is Cordova. This is where they turn off Cordova into Carroll, and then down they'll take the right-hander onto Powell Street. And here it's really very tricky. They're coming off pavement onto cobblestones, making a dropping turn, and then back from the cobblestones onto pavement again. And they really come close to that corner. This year it's Neil Spicer racing alone, really, against the powerhouse 7-Eleven team. Weather conditions are always a factor on the west coast of Canada in any month of the year. We had a lot of wetness in 1988, different last year. Perfect weather conditions and an entirely different scenario. Then it was a youngster from New Zealand, Gary Anderson, who stole the show. And here you're going to see the finish of the 1987 Gastown Grand Prix, won by Gary Anderson. What will be the situation for him this year?
It's not really any different because I'm doing the same sort of training this year as I was doing at this time last year in preparation for the Pursuit Championships, just that it's an Olympic pursuit this year rather than the World Championship pursuit. So it's actually a little different because the Olympics are 3 weeks later into the year, so I'm about 3 weeks behind what I was last year. But the only thing that's worrying me so much today is the weather.
But the weather's been improving. Here's our lead group, and it has not changed since the very first lap. Way back in the second group is last year's champion. Gary Anderson not able to move up at all to challenge those leaders, about 40 seconds behind. We're in lap 23, which means we're approaching the halfway mark in Gastown, and the weather is improving. Almost completely dry streets, and for the first time since the very first lap, we have a challenge from other than Bruce Spicer or a member of the 7-Eleven team. You see that red helmet? That is a challenge from a 28-year-old veteran from Los Angeles, Carl Maxson, a member of the 10-speed drive team. And he's moved up. He has been as high as third. He's been fourth. He's dropped back to fifth. But he's jockeying with the leaders right now at the halfway point. It's in the backstretch that the jockeying takes place. And a STIEDA will let a Walton or a McKinley take over. He doesn't want to have a Spicer take over, but Spicer has been confounding the 7-Eleven strategy at times. And for the first time, someone other than that particular group moving up, a veteran from California at the age of 28, Carl Maxson. He's from Los Angeles for the 10-speed drive team. And he is wearing a red helmet, and he has finally moved up to break into the combination that's been leading ever since the race began. In second place right now. Now Maxson starting to make a move. Can he win a lap? Shoulder to shoulder. And he has moved out in front to take this lap away from the 7-Elevens and from Spicer. And now we're going into the 24th lap. And we're going to have a Canadian Tires special report with Canadian Olympic cycling coach Ron Heyman.
We got an interesting thing happening here in the Gastown race. There's 5 guys off the front. 3 of them are on 7-Eleven, and they're all teammates. They'll be working together, but I know for a fact that at least 2 of those guys are super hungry for this race. Brian Walton has never won this race before, and I know he wants it. Whereas we have STIEDA, the old pro, and I don't think he's going to be generous today. He'd like to tie the record of
Evans and from Spicer. And now we're going into the 24th lap. And we're going to have a Canadian Tire special report with Canadian Olympic cycling coach Ron Heyman.
We got an interesting thing happening here in the Gastown race. There's 5 guys off the front. 3 of them are on 7-Eleven, and they're all teammates. They'll be working together, but I know for a fact that at least 2 of those guys are super hungry for this race. Brian Walton has never won this race before, and I know he wants it. Whereas we have STIEDA, the old pro, and I don't think he's going to be generous today. He'd like to tie the record of 3 wins out here, and this is his perfect opportunity. He's got a good situation with 2 teammates in there. We have also Bruce Spicer, a local rider, and he might profit from the fact that those guys are playing a little battle out. And Carl Maxon, an American rider who's just getting a free ride right now, could make a move in the last 5 laps.
Who's the giant when it comes to replacement radials? Guess again. It's Motomaster from Canadian Tire, Canada's #1 radial by a landslide. Canadian Tire knows the most important parts of any drive are the stops along the way. So when we install Motomaster brakes, they're guaranteed for as long as you own your car. Motomaster, built tough, back tough. Available at Canadian Tire.
The most dangerous part of the course is here at Maple Tree Square. And now the bodies fly. This is the second group. It's a bouncing group, isn't it? And oh, that can take the skin off your legs and other parts of your anatomy. But the Red Cross guys, the emergency medical men, are out there very, very quickly to attend to people because bodies and bicycle frames can get badly bent. And the rest of the race is still coming right behind that chase car. Here come the leaders. And Bruce Spicer is really showing true grit in this race. He has not allowed himself to be intimidated at all by the 3 leading riders from the 7-Eleven team. They've been alternating winning laps. He has to do it all by himself. He's not getting any help from anybody. But here we are coming up to the end of lap 35. And who's out in front? Number 13. That is Spicer. Throwing the gauntlet right at them, looking around to see where they are. Well, they're still behind you, Bruce. And Spicer is in front at the end of lap 35, only 15 to go. Meanwhile, the wounded have retired to the medical tent, there to be attended to. Some bashed and bruised elbows and thighs. However, it doesn't seem to upset them too much. Some pebbles are extracted, cobblestone pebbles from Gastown, extracted from a thigh, but the race is still on. Heading for Maple Tree Square, the leaders again. And they have to be very careful. This is where that last crash took place. What a job of work Spicer has been doing, fighting off these powerhouses from the 7-Eleven team. And now the leaders catching up with the rest of the pack, and that makes things very confusing when you're watching the race to figure out just who is in front. Well, in front, 2 7-Eleven riders, but Spicer is still very much right in the thick of it. That rider in the blue helmet had been lapped. Here are the leaders, and it is Walton in front. Let's meet this young man at home.
At 18, I started cycling. The camaraderie, the friends, I moved over from Victoria to Vancouver. It was a way to meet people, join the club around here, share the experiences of cycling, and the competition, that was fun as well, riding against the guys. And I guess at the end of my first year, actually, I wasn't really training that much. and I was starting to place in the races. I didn't know how to train. Guys were telling me, you got to get out and, you know, ride your bike a little more, and you can win a few races, not just, you know, seconds, thirds, and fourths. So my friends helped me along with a training program, and I guess the beginning of my second year, I went through the categories. I started in category 3, and within, I guess, 2 months, I'd moved up to category 2, which is the, I guess, the top national level. My education has helped me out quite a bit. Riding to SFU, the hill in itself, it's 5 kilometers to the top. It's a good hill just to keep you in shape all year round. And school is also a nice break to get away. You're training very hard January until I guess the racing season ends just the middle of September for myself. And so I'm just getting into school at that time. The first 2 weeks is hectic. I miss the first 2 weeks of classes usually, but after that, it's a nice break to get away from. Ride to school 3 or 4 times a week to keep me in shape. I like to take one step at a time, and I'd like the Olympic trials right now this week. It's my goal. The Gastown Grand Prix, to win it, it looks good on anyone's resume. It's the oldest race in Canada. It's very prestigious. And to do well around your hometown crowd is always really rewarding. It feels really nice when you win around here. I enjoy it.
From the helicopter, there's a really good look at this Coors Grand Prix course in Gastown. Walton has won the most primes in this race. A prime is a race within a race for additional prize money. And he has really answered the challenge every time they've called for one of those primes. Those are the little special sprints within sprints. And Walton has certainly been the leader of the 7-11 team as they're approaching the end of lap number 48. And when that's over, there'll be only 2 more laps to go in the race. And Spicer is still challenging those 7-11 guys, and he's first across the finish line there. It is going to be a finish. There is Spicer in front of 7-11, of Walton, McKinley, and don't forget STIEDA. They are 1, 2, 3 tucked in behind him. Now in that fast backstretch, and they are really working there. The fellows who have been lapped have moved out to the side. There's a little bit of a drink for him because he is not in contention anymore. Those are the leaders in behind. And now it's going to be the race. They've got a lap and a half to go as they turn off the backstretch. And you have to be careful now for this right-hander. This is where the crashes have taken place. And there's caution there, but they're through successfully. With 2 laps to go, Spicer was the leader. He's still up there, and now he's challenging with Walton. But don't forget STIEDA, probably the best sprinter in the pack, is still there as well. When they cross the finish line, there will be 1 lap to go, and now it's 2 7-11s out in front. Those racers have been lapped, and now there are the leaders, and it is Walton in front. 1 lap to go. Walton, he wears number 3. Number 4, right in there with him, his teammate, Scott McKinley. They are around first. Spicer has dropped back. STIEDA has dropped back. From overhead, they're on the backstretch. Now the left-hander. Down to Maple Tree Square for the right-hander. The most difficult and taxing turn on the course. Now they're coming down Water Street. And Walton is looking over, and Walton has taken out in front now. It is Walton in front of McKinley. And he's pouring it on. He now knows that victory is within his grasp. He has wanted this one so much, and he has it. Brian Walton wins the 1988 Coors Gastown Grand Prix. Scott McKinley is in second place. Spicer hangs on to pick up third, a great performance, and Alex STIEDA in fourth place. 3 of the top 4 7-11 riders, led by Brian Walton. Brian, you can't really have much better today, can you?
Oh, it went real well. We had 3 guys in the break there, and it's just great racing in front of your hometown, and it gives you that much more of a boost. And oh, it's fantastic winning here.
You won an awful lot of things today.
Oh, yeah, I won a few preems, and I guess picked up the Sprinter Award early on, and then just kind of settled in. We got into a good pace, and we kept rolling around real well, and we noticed that the pack was there, and we just had to keep it very cautious. It was starting to get slick near the end there, so we took it really careful so there wasn't a crash, and just ended up pretty nice.
Was it a more difficult course because of the changes they made up there at the East End?
Yes, it was. It was a little more technical, and on a day like today when the red bricks get wet, it's really dangerous. But we were lucky it cleared up for us.
That must make you feel pretty good, set you up pretty good for between now and September.
Oh, it sure does. Like I said, it's great winning hometown. The cheering's just fantastic. I love it.
Congratulations.
Thanks.